Still on the AM show today, we begin our series on the new patriotic party's internal elections. We're speaking to Charles Bissue, a former presidential staffer and current Western Regional Secretary of the NPP. He wants to unseat John Boadu and become the next General Secretary. Here's his interaction with Kojo Brace, and it airs now.
Welcome to the AM show. We are talking to a very important person within the New Patriotic Party and someone who is running for the position of the General Secretary of the party. He is someone who was given the opportunity to ensure that we are able to regulate our small-scale mining sector. He and the team did quite a job there, but today they've given it to other people to also continue. We are here to have some chit-chat with him. He's no other person than the man Charles Cromwell Nana Benyin Onya Wonto. That's a name that is fascinating. Onya the Wonto, you know, you cannot buy a brother. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. You?
Good, thank you.
Many people do not know that you have a legal background as well. You have a legal background. You've done your PhD.
I'm still pursuing my PhD.
But you have a legal background.
Yes.
Wow.
I did up to the master's in law.
Law level. You're a man of many parts then.
Yes, I am. I try to, because in our society you need to be experienced, and that through the nurturing, my nurturing, I was actually privileged to actually come into contact with a lot of people whom, for example, when I lived in the UK, all the people that I lived with were lecturers in the university. Professor Woodman, who was one of the main architects behind the interstate succession law, PNDC law 111 and all that. He's a white person, but he was married to my auntie, so I lived with him. Alan Dietz, who was also a lecturer, another white person. Professor John Hall, he was head of botany department at the Legon, University of Legon. So all these men, I lived with them, and I learned a lot from them. So I took education very serious when I was in the UK. Because when I went there, I was a young, around 21 years old. And you know, when in that part of the world, you go there and everything was at your disposal. So you can either choose that way or this way. And for the nurturing that I went through with them, they took me through. I think that shaped me as well. Yeah.
What is your memorable achievement at the committee where you were trying to regulate the small-scale mining sector?
Okay, that job itself was, you know, the president stated it in his manifesto, the NPP manifesto, when we're going in the run-up to the 2016 election, that he was going to restructure, sanitize and restructure the artisanal small-scale mining sector. So when Ghanaians actually voted for him and the New Patriotic Party, he appointed me as a presidential staffer, and then we agreed that I have to be measured in terms of my performance and all that. So he gave me that job after it formed a committee comprising of 10 ministers, and then my job was to coordinate all the ministries and the agencies to ensure that we sanitize the artisanal and small-scale mining sector, and then we restructure it. And we did a good job training 4,500 artisanal and small-scale mining workers in Takwa School of Mines. We brought in the drones. We vetted over 1,350 licenses, because hitherto one license owned about 4 concessions, so it was a mess. And then that came about because of bureaucracy, whom you know and all that, you know, the system here. So the government trying to solve the problem so that it is actually everyone is served. Diligently, and then everyone benefits from what the government is doing. So that was basically some of the jobs that we did. We brought in the European Space Agency to zoom into our concessions to see how devastated they were, and then we brought sanity into it, because most of the excavators were actually retrieved from the mine side, you can attest to the fact that even some of the river bodies were actually getting better. One thing is that the river bodies, you cannot tell how long it took for the destruction or whatever to occur, so you cannot actually put timelines on them. So, but then we did what we have to do, because the mandate was, the committee was an ad hoc one. So once you finish with your job, then it reverts to the various ministries. So now the Lands and Natural Ministry, led by Honorable Abu Dinapo, actually doing it. All we have to do is implement them well and then ensure that the monitoring is done. We also, during that time, the roadmap that we came up with had the community mining in there, the alternative livelihood plan, how we export gold, the revenue that we generate from there, and all that, access to finance for the miners, the insurance bit. We wanted all the miners to have insurance, and then a whole lot. They were all contained in the roadmap, which is being implemented by the ministry now. So, and I think they're adding some innovative bits to it, but the most important thing is ensuring that the monitoring is done, and then we sustain that, and I think we'll get there.
Yeah, the roadmap had community mining as part of it. How sustainable is that?
Oh, you know, I remember I went to the mining in Durban in South Africa, Cape Town, with the president in 2019, and I had the deputy minister of mines. On that occasion, Ramaphosa, the president, was there, and the deputy minister of mines said that in the diamond sector, the illegal mining is called Zama Zama, their Galamsey, and he said they've adopted the community mining, and that's when I thought, okay, what we're doing here, it's actually being, exported to South Africa, because I worked with a lot of university professors, Professor Kuma, the former Vice Chancellor of UMAT, Professor Mankwa, now the Vice Chancellor, Professor Megbe, Alasan, Yakubu, yes, and then a lot of professors, Professor Simmons, they all came, and then I had Dr. Adwa and Dr. Akrofi, all from tech, and then they came in and worked with us, and they helped in putting the roadmap together. So you had a lot of experts within that, and I commend them, because they didn't even charge the state. You know, when this is more like a consultancy work, where we feel that the system is actually not too good, and then they come in and they said they came in with a nationalistic approach to say that this is for us, and what they did was that I didn't even know their political background. You understand? But we brought them together and they did the job, because in the interest of Ghana. Now the community mining is very sustainable, because what we put together, it involves the chiefs, the district, the investor, and the miners themselves. And I believe that that's what the lands ministry is doing, because following that scandal, I stepped aside for investigations to carry on. So I didn't go closer to anything to do with the committee or the lands ministry. I wanted them to do, I wanted to be seen not to be interfering in anything at all. You know that I'm the first person within the president's government to step aside when when I heard about the allegations came out for them to, and the police exonerated me for that. So I haven't actually gone into it, but I know that what we put down, if implemented to the letter, will benefit all of us, and especially those miners in the rural areas where they do not have other jobs. But then also you realize that if most of the people pay the PNGC law 218, the small-scale mining was actually made to be the preserve of Ghanaians, to create jobs for people. So if you're not, mining is not preserved for you, it's not something that you want to, then there's an alternative livelihood for you within your community. So all that was provided for within that, the roadmap.
Do you feel hurt by how things unfold for you to step aside? Because I know you had certain things you wanted to do in the small-scale mining space. Do you feel what happened really?
You know, I even my PhD, I started my PhD in the industrialization area, where the Ghana Beyond Aid, from the colonial era to the current era. That's what my proposal was on, and I started for about 6 months. And then when I following the South Africa thing, and then a lot of people from Sweden, Norway, Malawi, they used to come to the Interministerial Committee to interview me and then take it to the country. So I think that's when I realized that no, this thing is a gap that we're filling for people to actually tap into. So I switched my PhD from that to sustainable development, the topic, that's what it is, and then the sustainable development in the small-scale mining sector in Ghana. That's what I'm writing about. So if you say I feel hurt, no, it actually helped me to actually focus on something to help the community. But if you say hurt, I'll use hurt in another sense, in the sense that you were doing a good job for your country. You believed that whatever you're doing was going to inure to the benefit of the masses, and then you were trying to stop people from delving into illegal mining. And then somebody sits somewhere and believes that, no, I have to throw Spanish into the wheels to spoil the whole thing. So immediately that was done. It tainted the integrity of the Interministerial Committee and the presidency, and that affected the party and government in winning a lot of seats. And the person who did that is a party person, you understand, who worked with me and then wanted to indulge us to indulge in illegal mining. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So eventually I got rid of the person from the office, and the person goes and plans something, and even when the money was not coming from him, coming from somebody else, but he got somebody to accompany somebody, and then just see money being handed over, and then take a photo and sells it to Announce or whatever it is, or I don't know how the transaction went, and he also goes without verifying it and then sharing it. In our jurisdiction, I think that with my case, I think it's an eye-opener for all of us, civil societies, the various agencies, to delve into. But that's where in other jurisdictions where you actually film somebody and you think the person is culpable for something, you give it to the various institutions, they investigate it. When the person is found culpable, then you can actually show it to the general public. But you do not go out there and show it and then think that you've disgraced the person for whatever reasons you have behind the scenes to perpetrate, to suit you. I don't think it should be. So I'm hurt, not for me, but for this happening to my country. And that may deter other people who are given certain positions for them to be assertive in actually or focusing to get something for their country. But if you say I regret it, I do not regret it, because if I'm given that position again, I'll do the same thing 1,000 times.
Why didn't you take him up if you feel he did something that, I mean, he accused you falsely?
Oh no, I forgave him. I forgave him because, you know, in our society saw what went on. You understand? I forgave us because everybody saw what went on, and you knew that it was a setup and all that. So it's not up to me. I mean, I have the right to do that, but I don't think I am. What the society has seen is enough for now. Until you know, criminal matters or legal suits, I don't think they have a limitation clause on that. So that can be triggered anytime. But for me, as it stands, I'll leave it. The general public has seen what happened, and that's, I think, is enough.
You campaigned for the NPP in 2016 and 2020, and you were upbeat about how NPP will transform the economy. But this same government is under whose tenure a lot of Ghanaians are complaining of intense or immense hardship. Okay, first, how disappointed are you?
No, I'm not disappointed. First of all, we must all admit that the Ghanaian populace have a higher benchmark for MPP. They rate us to do things. They rate the MPP to even go to the moon or do rocket science.
Based on what you tell us?
No, not based on what we tell you. That we've had two political parties. The MPP is the oldest political tradition in the country. Aborigines Right Protection Society, UGCC, the agitation, and then that was formed, and then out of that came the CPP and all that. Dr. Bissue came in. So if you look at it, when he did, Bissue was there. He planted teak trees, which was a future which General Rawlings used to, for his electrification project. And then the NDC ruled for about 19 years thereabouts, and then we came and took over. When we took over, the innovative programs that we brought into to bear. If you look at NHIS and free maternity health care, these are social interventional programs that goes to the heart of human development in a country. So that alone, then we had like 23 years, the economic recovery program and all that. There was hunger in 83 and all that. So Ghanaians remembered a lot of things. So when NPP took over, things were a bit difficult, but then eventually took over. It went well, because in the second term, I heard that people were being chased with loans here and there. And then we found oil in commercial quantities, where the GMPC has been in existence for so many years and couldn't actually find oil. And then you remember under the economic recovery program.
But on that, during the NDC time, Chachu Chikata started the process to find oil.
He started the process.
So you built on it?
No, the GMPC was actually was mandated to do that. He started the process. The NDC for NPP found it, but if my memory serves me right, it dragged on, and I do not know if he brought the people to find out. The GMPC, that was the mandate of it. How many years was the GMPC set up? How long did it take us? And so how long that the people, the EO group and all that, and Andako, how long did it take them to actually extract it? The MPC had been in existence. I can't remember the year. So and then there was a certain scandal where it's the rice case, so, and then salt exploration and all that. So for me, what I gather, I do not have all the facts, but if my memory serves right, maybe the mandate was not being served. Let's put it that way. And then under President Kufuor, we found oil. Now, if you look at the economic recovery program era, most of our state-owned agencies were sold, were diversified. But when we diversified them, we do not have ready markets for them, because the world was actually moving to the private sector being the engine of growth. If you go to the United Kingdom, we have the Leyland, British Gas, all of them, most of these companies were made, Jaguar and all that were diversified, but they had credible or credit-worthy companies to take over. Under the NDC, the DIC, the Diversity Implementation Committee, was formed, but we didn't have ready, so all these companies went defunct. Abosu Glass Factory, Commander Sugar Factory, all of them. Yes. So Kufuor comes in, puts us on a certain pedestal. We have Tallow Oil and all of them coming here, Stellar Logistics and all that. And then when NDC took over again, Stellar Logistics and all those companies moved from Ghana to Ivory Coast. So it means that they couldn't even manage the economy any better. And then we came back. Under President Akufo-Addo, there's a short-term, medium-term and long-term plan. Now, we are net importers of most of our commodities into this country. So the prices are determined by external forces. For example, the Russia and Ukraine war. The last time I heard the Russian embassy saying that no, we shouldn't blame the Russian war on our economy. Yes, we will have to. I disagree with them, because 10 million barrels of crude oil emanates from Russia. They trade with Germany and all other countries. We import our stuff from there. So the cost of production, if it's higher, it affects us. Cost of freight has tripled. The end user here pays it because we are net importers. That's why the president is saying that let us go industrialization. So far, over 101 D1F has been established. But the point is that you will not see the results in a year. It's a long-term thing. So that is how we have to situate ourselves. When you're doing that, I call it the economic revolution. We'll get there. We keep, likening ourselves to Malaysia, Singapore and all that, but they started industrialization years and years back, and they haven't had what breaks in their governance. We've had a lot of coups and all that. It's the fourth Republican constitution that has actually given us somewhat footing to actually be going forward. But then we've had NPP, NDC, and then it is a recurring thing. But you realize that when NPP comes in, we just push the economy somewhere, and even if it's the hard truth, we have to tell Ghanaians So the long-term plan being industrialization, and which the government is doing. The short-term is the E-levy that was was made to look like a caricature. Yeah, you see, the E-levy, which the NDC made look like a caricature. I believe it's a short to long-term plan. For immediately after COVID and all that, you have to look within your economy and actually situate your economy well. So the president says, if you remember or recall, he said he can always bring the economy back, but he cannot bring lives back. It means that there was difficult times ahead because the COVID itself wasn't included in the budget in 2020. It's a force majeure act of God. Nobody knew that was coming. For 9 months there was production, we were paying salaries and all that, but then there was nothing coming in. There wasn't production, we were paying salaries and all that. So your economy will go into recess just as any other economy, and then once you get back on your feet, you try to rebound it. So that is what it is. So Ghanaians are complaining, yes, the economy is in turbulence, but we as a party and government must show that we have the grit to go for it. That's what exactly the president is doing. Because I believe that if it had been the NDC, they would have come lying to Ghanaians, which they've done before. They'll come in 110 premium and all that. And I've heard President Mahama saying that when he comes back, he's going to repeal the E-levy. You see, it appears to me that when you're sitting in an examination condition, the questions are tough. And when you get out there, it becomes easier. You remember, in our system, we have the June and the NOVDEC. So he wrote the June exams. He's failed. He's going into NOVDEC. He's using the same materials that he failed the June exams with and applying them in NOVDEC. That would not help us because I remember they said that the communication service tax, they were going to take it away when they come back. They never did. And that's exactly the same thing. So we admit that there's turbulence in the economy. The economy will rebound. And I'm happy that it's happened that around this time, not in the year of election, as it happened in 2008, where we had the credit crunch in the run-up to the elections, and then Ghanaians didn't realize that it wasn't just in Ghana, it's a global thing. And the NPP has never been lucky whenever we've come to power, because if you look at the credit crunch, and then this time we're here with the COVID and then the Ukraine war. So I know that the economy will rebound and Ghana will be on a better footing.
Fortunately, all of those things COVID, Russia-Ukraine war is not only specific to Ghana, it's the world.
Yes.
But there's a time we are fighting with people like Sudan, Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, and Angola as the top 5 countries with the highest inflation in Africa. Why can't we be like the Ivory Coast or the South Africa or Nigeria with a better inflation?
Okay, you see, when the COVID came, how did those countries manage it? You understand? We're missing a point. I remember in Togo there was no, I didn't know if there was a ban on people at public places not wearing nose masks and entering offices and all that. Because I heard that somebody a certain person said they wanted to come to Ghana because Ghana were managing the COVID well. So if you're managing such a thing, a lot of money goes into it. Nigeria, were they actually giving us the true figure of the number of people who have died? So these countries, if we're actually looking at the inflation and whatever, the hardship and all that, we should go back and see how COVID was managed. You manage something like that with investment, finances go into it. Nigeria, the COVID, I don't think they managed it well because it was free for all. You decide to do what you have to do. In Togo, it was the same. Even in Italy, where they have the best hospitals, about 40,000 people died. In America, about 1 million people died. So we should look at how it happened. And you realize that the same NDC was saying that we spent so much in managing COVID and that we should come and account for it. And the same NDC is saying that inflation is high because you did not manage the economy well. So I'm struggling to understand them.
No, but with how America pumped money into fighting COVID.
Pardon?
With how America pumped money into fighting COVID, they are not even anywhere close to the inflation figures we have.
I'm not comparing our economies to that of America.
Yeah, I'm looking at
that's the developed world. I'm saying that how it was managed. Okay, America, if you look at their population, okay, if 1 million people die, if you look at percentage terms, I cannot work that out now. Okay, so America is in a different league, but a lot of people died. Italy, I believe that the population is not so big. Okay, I cannot recall, I don't have the figure, but I know that with the best hospitals, 40,000 people died. Ghana, did 5,000 people died due to COVID? No. So we put in structures to manage it. And the president said, we can always bring the economy back. So if the president is spending maybe $10 billion, okay, into saving lives, because when you want the economy to rebound, it is the same people. You need a human resource to do that. You understand? So if money has gone into it for us to save the economy, and then we are in turbulence now, and the president said we are going to rebound, and I have to explain that we have a long-term plan, medium-term plan, and then a short-term plan. That is how it has to be. So if inflation is high now, I think it's 23, isn't it? Okay, so the government has come and it's been truthful to Ghanaians that this is where we are. So I am happy that we've told Ghanaians the truth. By next year, if it comes down to a single digit, I'll be happy to speak to Ghanaians. You understand? And that would even help me in campaigning as a member of this party, because it means that this is what it was. When COVID came, we managed to save a lot of lives. The economy went into turbulence. Inflation was at 23%. Now, because the president said A, B, C, D, we've managed it well, and this is where we are. So that will be my message.
So are you saying that because of how you managed COVID, the monies that you spent is why inflation is where it is today?
No, that's not what I'm saying. It could be one of the factors. Okay, I am saying that COVID was managed well. 2, for 9 months there was no production. Okay, we're paying people. You understand? So ab initio you have recession when the economy bounces back. The other jurisdictions that the economies are okay. Yeah. Did they manage COVID the same way as we did?
But how is that related to how much I buy tomatoes today?
Because there wasn't production. If supply is short, supply is short, prices go up, isn't it? So if the supply is not there, it would shoot prices up. You understand? And I'm saying that the other countries, they did not manage COVID the same way that we did. So they were going about with their normal business.
So they have supplies.
So they went about their normal businesses at the cost of human lives. You understand? And our president had said that we can always bring our economy back, but we can never bring life. So those countries, the people who died, the number of people, can they ever bring them back? No. But the economy is still there. So what the two, which are you going to take money as against life? You understand? So if money has gone into it to save lives, and we have a human resource to rebound, maybe a year or 2, those countries will be better off. But in the long run, we'll be better off because we've put in a long-term plan, which is the industrialization drive. So eventually we'll be able to export so that our balance of payment will be stronger, and then we can compete. Our CD can be stronger too. So that is how the way to go. And then in the interim, the president comes in with the E-levy, which is a revolutionary economic thing. I mean, economic revolution, I call it, because we need to come up within us. Then this was telling us to go to IMF. So for them, then it means that they do not have any alternative. If it had been them, we would have gone to IMF. And then IMF would give us conditionalities like they did, and they said freeze on public sector workers and all that. And we are not doing that. We said within our economy, we can find the money, even though it is difficult. But then eventually, when the money goes into infrastructure and all those things, it can attract foreign direct investment. It can boom, business can boom, because when you have the infrastructure and all that, businesses are ready to come in, and then in the long run you benefit.
But if you listen to sentiment of Ghanaians, don't you think Ghanaians love to buy tomato for 1 cedi or 50 pesos?
Yeah.
And rather be with IMF than not being with IMF, but to buy tomato, 1 tomato for 2 cedis.
So that's when assertive leadership comes in, okay? Because you know that, I call it that sort of abaye politics. You go to IMF, yeah? and the person is and then buys tomatoes for maybe 20 pesos, and then you are under IMF, and then you're still there, and then you go back every 2 years, 3 years, you go back, and there's a president who's saying that no, let's go the industrialization. Your tomatoes and all that you plant can be used to produce certain things here, and then we rather export instead of importing tin tomatoes. Now we have some factories here doing it. Hitherto we imported them, toothpick we imported them. Then when COVID came, within ourselves, we managed to actually find things for ourselves to sustain ourselves. So out of that necessity, we became innovative, and then we're doing things here. So yes, somebody might want to even buy tomatoes for 10 pesos. But for us as leaders, we need to educate people and say the Malaysia, the Singapore and all that, they went through the hard way and then got to where they are. So that's how we rule a country.
So you mean going to IMF won't allow you to get to set up factories and all of that?
How many times have we been to IMF and where have you been to? We've been to IMF so many times, haven't we? And we were where we are. And if you compare to the other countries who haven't been to IMF and then looked within them, they're actually accelerating the economy.
Let's now come to your political ambition.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people talk.
General Secretary, I'm not chastising anybody. We've all done our bit, but every season has its own leader. We've had Ajenim Boatin, Dan Botry, Nano Hininto, Sir John came in, Kwabene Japan. So all these, and then John Boadu. I would liken that to Carl Lewis. When he did 12 seconds, we thought he's the best then, okay? Now, Usain Bolt did under 10 seconds, right? Even women are doing 11 seconds and all that. So it means that there are records to be broken. And I'm saying that every season has its own leader. And so to break the 8 and then go beyond 2024, I'm saying that the message is good, the messages are wrong. It doesn't mean that you're going to throw anybody out. We all have to come together, collaboratively, but it needs to be managed effectively. And there are 3 things that I see in politics: the data, the personality, and the message. A combination of these 3 can win you elections if you actually manage them well.
How upbeat are you about winning the contest?
I am very confident, but I'm not going to be complacent. I'll take the delegates seriously. I will engage them seriously. I'll consult a lot. You've known my style. I listen a lot. If you're not able to listen, you cannot draw strategies. You understand? You cannot make decisions. So a leader who doesn't listen cannot succeed. So I will listen a lot, but then eventually you have to draw the line of being assertive and making decisions. I am very confident that I will, once at the Congress, the party members will vote for me. And when they vote for me, I do not want them to leave me there, because it's a collaborative thing. So when the moment they vote for me, it means that another phase of the job starts. We are all working together to achieve 2024. And I believe with God's grace and everything, it would come to pass.
When you go to campaign, doesn't the Galamsey thing come up?
No, because you see, the party people understand that it was a certain party member who orchestrated that against me. So initially, I think the guy was trying to disgrace me, but he actually helped me to have favor before our party members, because it was a few people who orchestrated that, because they wanted to indulge in the Galamsey thing. So I haven't been anywhere that people have actually asked me. What people rather say is that, no, you are rather a victim of what shouldn't have happened within our party. So most people see me rather as a victim.
What is the plan after the General Secretaryship election?
The plan is to win the 2024 elections. You know, I take each time one day at a time. I did the regional secretary. First, I came for the parliamentary primaries. I lost. And then following 2012 elections, following the court case, I sat back and I saw what was going on. Our pick sheet, the things that I imported, the very ingredients to winning elections. So at that point, I decided I'm not going to go for parliament against, because we can all struggle or fight and go and be in parliament, and then we'll leave the party behind. So I made a decision to contest for the regional secretary. I won. We brought results. and all that. So for me, I think that beyond that, we need to actually solidify the party so that this party is the go-to party within the country for Ghana's development, and then also try and enrich Parliament with the party members. Because for me, I'm advocating that we actually protect competent MPs, because you see, somebody like Osei Soboso, he grew through the ranks. Now you can see that he's more like a repository of wisdom for Parliament for us. Afenyo Markin is coming in nicely and all that. And if for somebody like Afenyo Markin, if he's delivering and doing these things, or say you're doing your good thing for the party and government and Parliament, then somebody goes behind them, tries to dig ducks behind them so that you can unseat them. I don't think it augurs well for us, because then it means that it's a recurring thing. We're not having quality there. So if I'm saying we should protect competent MPs, I'm not saying that we shouldn't vote. We're a democratic party. We believe in the rule of law. But then if we're able to put sanctions or discipline people who do that to MPs who are performing, because when it's like that, the MPs do not have the peace of mind to stay in Parliament. They're always in the constituencies.
But how can you protect MPs with election? When you are electing, you cannot protect them.
That's what I'm saying. The mechanism to protecting them is that they concentrate on their jobs. For example, you see, if the party works with the leadership of Parliament, okay, to say, okay, we need to know the performance of our MPs and all that. And for example, you come to the party office and there's a board outlining each MP's contribution in Parliament and all that, i.e. committee work and all that. It's there for you to see. There's a performance thing. At that point, when the MP is going for another election, I don't think he would even need to campaign, because somebody has, you're the party person, you've seen it in the party offices, that this is the performance of your MP and all that. So they know what you're doing for them. And then in the constituency, the surgery hours, how he does it, and then when and where he does it and all that, that would be taken into account as well. So maybe in the last 6 months, the MP visited maybe 10 times. Maybe it's enough. There's a criteria for it. So it's a mechanism that we are all following. You understand? Through that, you're protecting the MP. Because a lot of people do not know what the MPs do in Parliament. And so somebody comes, lies. I mean, in my region, people come in, my MP has done this, but how are you able to verify? So those party officers who go in, look for other people to unseat MPs and all, they can be dealt with in a way. So, and you cannot deal with them out of a vacuum. There has to be something that we refer to, according to this, according to that. So all I'm saying is that we have to protect them. I'm doing this, I'm saying this, so that it makes the party stronger. When the party is stronger, Parliament is stronger. We enrich it, you understand? So the proper laws are passed for the Ghanaian populace. And then the executive itself is also stronger.
So that's my colleague Kujo Brace interacting with Mr. Bissue there, who wants to be the next General Secretary of the NPP.